All right, so get this today. We're diving into Indonesian horror.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and we're looking at a film called Perewangan. It
Okay.
hasn't even hit wide release yet, but there is already a buzz building.
Cool.
Yeah, and from what I'm seeing on TMDb, this isn't like your typical ghost story, you know?
Right.
We're talking family drama, supernatural chills, maybe even some social commentary, all wrapped up in one.
Interesting. What's immediately interesting to me, actually, is the film's title, Perewangan.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a direct English translation, but
Yeah.
it suggests this sort of spiritual journey or transformation,
Hmm.
which it definitely sets a different tone, I think. Hints
Yeah.
at something a little deeper than just jump scares.
I like it already. So let's break down what we know about the plot.
Okay.
The story follows Maya, our main character, and she's facing, well, some seriously creepy events.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and if that wasn't enough, there's this potential inheritance battle, simmering in her family.
Oh, wow. Talk about bad timing there.
Worst.
But what's really intriguing here is how the lines between like the family drama and the supernatural elements, they seem to blur.
Okay.
Like the TMDb page, it mentions this greater evil that's tied to, quote, human greed. So it suggests that the supernatural events could actually be like manifestations of the family's own issues.
Like their desires are coming back to haunt them, literally.
Yeah.
And speaking of haunting, the key words on the TMDb page,
Yes.
they really add to this whole mystery. We've got sacrifice, demon, ghost, mirror, supernatural horror, terror. It's all there.
And that keyword mirror, that's the one that really gets me, honestly.
Yeah.
Because in Indonesian folklore, mirrors, they're not just spooky objects, right? They're often seen as portals to, like, the spirit world,
Really?
or as having some kind of deeper connection to the supernatural.
Now that you mention it, one of the posters on TMDb, it features a mirror.
Uh-huh.
And let's just say the reflection is a little unsettling. Makes you think about its role in the story, right?
Absolutely. And it plays into that classic horror trope of the haunted mirror, but within, like, Indonesian folklore specifically. It takes
Yeah.
on these extra layers of meaning.
Right.
It's really cool.
And this is where the writer, Point, comes in. He's credited as both the author and the writer,
Oh,
which makes me think this film, it might be based on something he's already written,
okay.
maybe a novel, or even like a popular Twitter thread.
Wow, that would be really interesting to see, like how a horror story originating from, a novel or even more so a Twitter thread, how that translates to the big screen.
Right.
If it's based on, something pre-existing that speaks volumes about how, like, contemporary storytelling is shaping filmmaking now, and knowing that Point is Indonesian, it just adds another layer of authenticity, I think, to the story.
Especially since the movie is set in Java.
Exactly.
It's not just a horror film, right?
Right.
It's a glimpse into Indonesian culture, too. And given this whole inheritance battle, it makes you think about how important family and legacy are in that culture.
Precisely. In many Asian cultures, family ties and inheritance are very, very deeply intertwined. So this dispute in Perewangan, it could be tapping into, like, very real anxieties about maintaining family unity or respecting traditions.
Yeah, and within that context, those themes of greed and sacrifice, they just become way more intense. Like the stakes are higher. It's not just about individual desires anymore, but about upholding these cultural values, these expectations.
Exactly. And that's honestly where I think Indonesian horror, it often excels. By weaving together, the supernatural with these very real social and cultural anxieties. It's not just about the scares, but about what those scares actually represent in a larger context.
And Indonesia has such a rich history of supernatural beliefs. They're woven into the folklore, the storytelling. So it's not just about cheap thrills, right? It reflects a worldview where the spirit world is very much a part of everyday life.
Exactly. It adds this, like, layer of complexity to the horror because you're never quite sure what's real and what's not.
Right. Now, we don't have a trailer to dissect just yet, unfortunately, but we do have 18, count them, 18 behind-the-scenes images.
Wow.
And 5 posters on TMDb.
Cool.
And I gotta say, they offer some pretty intriguing clues about the film's tone, the atmosphere. Have you had a chance to look at them yet?
I have. I've been checking them out. They're fascinating. Like the use of color, the play of light and shadow.
Yeah.
They all contribute to this unsettling kind of feeling of dread and anticipation. It's really well done.
And there's one poster in particular that really caught my eye.
Yeah.
It features, well, we don't want to spoil anything for our listeners.
Right.
But let's just say it involves a mirror.
Okay.
And it leaves you with this, like, lingering sense of unease. It's creepy. You really should check it out, like, after listening to this.
I completely agree. It's worth a look. It captures that unsettling feeling that the film seems to be going for. It plays on those, like, existing fears we have about mirrors and what they might reveal.
Yeah. Exactly. So to our listeners, if you're already familiar with Indonesian horror, hit us up on social media. What are your expectations for Perewangan? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
This blend of family drama, greed, and supernatural horror, all within like a specific Indonesian cultural context. It's a potent mix.
It really feels like Perewangan is trying to do something different within the genre, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And this might also tie into why Zero Point is credited as both author and writer. It suggests a deeper level of creative control.
Yeah, like a commitment to bringing a specific vision to life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially if it's based on a story he originated. I'm really curious to see how a horror story, potentially starting as a Twitter thread, would translate into a full-length film.
Right.
It's a testament to the evolving landscape of storytelling. It'll be interesting to see how Zero Point blends traditional Indonesian horror elements with this more modern approach.
And that brings us back to the director, Awi Suryadi. He's got a pretty solid reputation in the horror genre, right?
He does. He's known for his ability to create genuinely unsettling atmospheres
Yeah.
and for his clever use of jump scares.
Oh, I see.
But what's exciting is that his films often go beyond simple scares. They explore deeper themes, often reflecting on social issues and cultural anxieties.
Which aligns perfectly with what we've been discussing about Perewangan. It's not just about the horror, it's about what that horror represents.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this is where the film has the potential to really stand out. It's using horror as a lens to examine these very real, very human anxieties about family, legacy, and the choices we make.
Choices like the ones Maya is facing in the film. We talked about the inheritance dispute, but I keep coming back to that keyword, sacrifice. Could she be caught up in something bigger than just a family feud?
That's the question, isn't it? Is she a pawn in a larger game?
Wow.
Maybe even an intended victim in some ancient ritual or curse. The film's title, Perewangan, that journey of transformation, suggests she might have a much more active role to play than we initially realized.
It's giving me chills just thinking about it. And speaking of chills, we've got to address the elephant in the room. Or should I say, the lack of information about the budget and revenue. We don't have those figures yet, do we?
We don't. But the absence of that information is interesting in itself. You see, horror, especially supernatural horror, doesn't always require a massive budget to be effective.
Right.
It's more about creating that atmosphere, building suspense, and getting under your skin.
Exactly.
And from everything we've gathered about Perewangan, from the key words to the director's previous work, it seems like the film is going for psychological chills rather than big-budget special effects.
Which, let's be honest, are often more effective anyway. A well-placed shadow or a creepy reflection can be far more terrifying than any CGI monster.
I completely agree. It's about tapping into those primal fears, those things that go bump in the night and make us question what's lurking just beyond our field of vision.
And with keywords like demon, ghost, and terror, there's a lot of potential for some truly chilling moments in Perewangan. What kind of horror are you picturing, based on everything we've discussed? Are we talking about subtle scares or something more in your face?
That's what's so exciting. The possibilities are endless. However, I think it's safe to say that with Awi Suryadi at the helm, we could expect a healthy dose of both. He's a master of building tension slowly
I'm sure he is.
and then unleashing those heart-stopping jump scares when you least expect them.
I don't know about you, but I'm already hooked. So while we don't know the full extent of the horror yet, what's clear is that Perewangan is a film that wants to make you think as much as it wants to scare you.
Absolutely. It's not just about jump scares and gore. This film delves into complex themes of family, inheritance, and the nature of good and evil.
It's a film that invites you to ponder the cost of ambition, the consequences of greed, and the blurred line between what's real and what's imagined.
It's all tied together by the idea of Perewangan, this journey, this transformation. Is Maya going to be a victim, or is she going to be a survivor? Is she going to overcome the darkness, or is she going to succumb to it?
And that's the question we're left with, isn't it? As we eagerly await the release of Perewangan, it leaves us pondering, how much are we willing to sacrifice for those we love? And could there be a darker side to those sacrifices?
It's a question that resonates beyond the realm of horror. It's about the choices we make, the paths we take, and the consequences that follow.
So keep an eye out for Perewangan. It's going to be a chilling ride, and we'll be back with more insights and analysis once it's out in the world.
And in the meantime, remember to check out those posters on TMDB. See if you can glean any more clues from the visuals.
That's it for our deep dive into Perewangan. Until next time, happy watching.